Hello, Deer Park ISD, and welcome to the inaugural edition of Table Talk. We're so glad that you joined us today. We're going to be talking about the park partnership, and we'll get into that in just a minute, but I'd like to introduce my guest. This is Eric Ripley. Eric.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. My name is Eric Ripley, a lifelong Deer Park resident, went through Deer Park ISD, graduated in 1996, 30 years ago. Have lived here, raised my two girls here. My oldest daughter, Alyssa, graduated in 2023, youngest, Emily, in 2025. So we've been here my whole life, and I just joined City Council in May. So I'm excited to be doing that and working for our citizens in Deer Park.
You and I have reunions coming up.
Yes.
My 35th and your 30th.
Yes, it's scary once you get past 25. You know, you think 25, okay, but now it's, oh my gosh, we're getting old. So.
Seems like yesterday, Eric. Eric was kind enough to join us today because he was part of our first cohort of the Park Partnership this last school year, during the 25-26 school year. And it's just about time for us to launch applications and try to recruit new members to the group for this year. So we wanted to get a testimonial. So the group membership, I'll start with that, for the Park Partnership is parents and community members. Anyone really interested in learning more about the district. I always say it reminds me a little bit of Citizens Police Academy.
Yes,
that the city has, where you go through and you get to ask questions and do a little hands-on work and learn more about the organization. So Eric, if you were talking to a friend or a neighbor, how would you describe the Park Partnership?
Sure. I think you nailed it. Like that's what I thought of when I was kind of thinking about the entire process and what we did. It's you get a little bit of everything. As somebody that went through Deer Park ISD, had students children go through DPISD, you think you know a lot about how things work and what's going on. I have no clue. I feel like I had a lot of knowledge coming into it.
Yeah.
I was still blown away by how much goes into making sure that students have a great experience in Deer Park ISD, and how many people play a part in that. Parents, you see teachers, you see principals. You don't see a lot of people behind the scenes that are working to make sure that they have the experience that they need to have. So.
Oh, yeah, business office, child nutrition. It's so funny, I think, because all of us went to school, then we know school, right? I mean, even those of us like you and I who went to school here in Deer Park, and you don't realize how much the system has changed or how much has been legislated that we have to, like City Council, we have to respond to everything that the Texas Education Agency or State Board puts out. So yeah, could you give us an example of one system or subject that you felt like, wow, I really learned a lot from that one. That one was a good one. I'll make sure we include that this year, whatever you.
Well, I mean, really want to kind of talk about a couple of them.
Okay,
because
that would be great.
It's kind of different scenarios. As a parent, when we had the instruction meeting at Deer Park Junior High, and how they described how they did simple math problems that as parents aren't simple anymore.
Nope.
They don't do things the way that they did them when we were in school.
Yeah.
And to see how they worked through that, even though my children had graduated, I was like, wow, I wish I had a kid I could go back and say, wow, this is great how they explain it, because it made sense then,
Yes.
So that really stood out to me. And then the entire budgeting and financial part of school districts, which I don't think a lot of people understand or realize how much goes into that, and really the direction that's heading for the school district. And so there's a lot of important information that I wish everybody could hear, because
yes,
there's a lot of tough decisions being made by you guys, and I think I know you're really unfairly criticized a lot of times because of the lack of knowledge by common people, and I'll include myself in that. So
sure. Well, I'll echo what you said. It's interesting. I remember the meeting you're talking about at Deer Park Junior High. And one of the offshoots, I don't know if you remember from that meeting, was as the Department of Instruction was really trying to explain the new curriculum, and we were laughing a little bit because I went to Parkwood and Deepwater, and oh gosh, I guess that would have been late 70s.
I was right behind you.
Okay, you were
Yes.
just 5 years behind me. And whenever I do math, I see dice in my head because the district's curriculum at the time was called dot math. Now, I will forever do math that way in my head. So when the parents were like, we don't understand the way they're doing it, I'm like, of course you don't. I still see dots.
Right.
But an offshoot of that was that we started producing videos where we were recording the teachers teaching the lesson to try to help parents. And that was just feedback from the Park Partnership, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
And I think with finance, first of all, how complicated is that finance system? It's kind of a beast, I think, to understand. And I always tell people I know enough to be dangerous because there's so much to know. And I do think, first of all, I think people don't understand the difference between bond money and our regular budget and what's legal that we can do. I think people hear any of that and they're like, no more taxes. I'm like, yes, you can look back at our previous bonds. We have not raised taxes with our bonds, not in Deer Park. But, getting people to understand that, and I still say, if people could see the facilities that we're talking about either replacing or improving when it comes to that, I feel like any reasonable person would say, oh my word.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I loved about our meetings is we didn't meet in one place every time. We were at different campuses. We were in the press box at Abshire Stadium and got to tour that. So that opens your eyes also to the fact you're talking about Parkwood and Deepwater. That was probably my favorite meeting, going to Deepwater, because I went to school there. Now, Deepwater of 1980, whatever, is not Deepwater of 2026. And and you kind of talking about the budget process and the financial part, on the city side, people don't think about their water. Just, when you turn on your faucet, it runs, the trash just gets picked up. And, it's the same thing with the school district. A lot of things are taken for granted that people just don't think about. So,
yeah. And and we have this memory in our mind, like you and I do, of Deepwater Elementary. I've said, how much did I love those doors to the courtyard? Favorite thing. And now in 2026, in today's world, I look at them and say, oh no, what are we going to do about those doors that I loved as a kid? And so, I think we get the nostalgia. I can remember when years ago, when the dungeon was redone at North and it became the library. And I had a moment where I was like, my blood, sweat, and tears were on that floor. But the way that the library came up and it's got part of the floor in there, and I'm like, oh, I love it.
Right.
I love it. So I think we have to get past that sometimes when we're thinking about, finance and making those tough decisions, like we cutting $4 million out of our deficit budget this year because we want to have a balanced budget and be good financial stewards and be responsible. So, but it's.
And in addition to that, I wanted the same. I wanted my children to have the same experience that I did.
Yes.
And so I think that's important for this next generation. We should want the same, if not better.
Yes.
There's a lot of tough decisions you guys are making, and I don't envy you for having to make those decisions. So.
No, and I agree. I mean, we all want better. I'm just like you. I've got one graduate and one sophomore, so I've got another one coming behind. And I want the best and most rich experience possible. One of the coolest things, I don't even remember as a kid having a real awareness of the CTE classes. I mean, I knew where auto shop was because I could walk by it going to the gym. But I look at all of the choices. My daughter, who's a sophomore now, had such a hard time choosing, and she was for sure going to take some of those CTE classes. So that's really the goal, right? Whether they're college bound, whether they're going straight into their career, it's kind of on us to make sure that we're giving them whatever they need to get there. So.
Yeah. A couple things on the CTE. Number one, the meals that were prepared by the culinary students. Holy moly. Like, golly, I tell people that is the same as, if not better, than some fine dining restaurants that you'll go to in the Houston area. That program is incredible. And CTE, like, I think back to when I was in school, it was, you graduate and you go to college, and college isn't for everybody.
Yes.
And so it was really cool to see the CTE and the different avenues that students can follow and, really still have that desire to come to school, to learn, to prepare themselves for their future. So the CTE wing it's incredible, and it really, I think it opens the door to a lot of students who college may not be for, and that's okay, So we need electricians, we need plumbers, we need trades, people that work in trades. So that just opens the door for them and prepares them for a future in that. So
those industry-based certifications, I always think of like our cosmetology kids, because that's our youngest program. And I was talking to one of the girls so she's in early college, so she goes to San Jac in the mornings, and then she comes over and she's one of our cheerleaders, and she's in the cosmetology program. And I thought, oh my goodness, when you are 18, you can go into business. You can literally start your own business and have no debt.
Yes. And
we hired. I almost called her a kid. Now, that's not very nice. We hired a young lady who's a former fawn and a Deer Park grad who went to early college, graduated, finished her bachelor's degree in education at San Jac. So she did the 2 years here for free in early college. Then she did the 2 years on the Promise program. So got a free bachelor's degree, lived at home, and then we hired her to teach at 20.
Wow.
And so she's, got to make $65,000 and no debt. And
at 20 years old.
At 20 years old, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Our kids do some amazing things.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. So any parting words of wisdom or advice for someone who's maybe considering applying for the park partnership?
I mean, I just can't recommend it enough. And it goes for, if you have a student in, it's applicable. If you are graduated like I have, and you just want to kind of look back and see how things are going now, it's applicable. If you're just a citizen of the city, or somebody that lives local, and just wants to know more about how the school district works, man, I can't recommend it enough. I had high hopes going in, and my hopes were exceeded. It was such a plethora of information, and it really bridged the gap between me as a parent, as a former student, and the educators and the administrators. So we kind of talked about disinformation and that kind of thing. That kind of puts that to bed. You may not agree with everything, but you're 100%. Getting the information, the facts, from the people that are involved. So I can't recommend it enough, and it's a great experience. So if you're thinking about it, or do it. Apply. It's a great program. We have phenomenal administrators and educators that will give you the information and help you to learn more.
Okay, you heard it from Mr. Ripley. Just apply.